This is the CALA regulatory update webinar. I'm going to turn it over now to the CALA president, Mr. Bill Bowles. Mr. Bill.
Well, thanks, Peter. And also on the line as a panelist, we have Nicole Schiavone. She's a nurse and been involved with this whole process along the way. She's also a CALA board member. First of all, I just want to say that our call to action to get folks involved was overwhelmingly successful. We had an overwhelming presence at the last ALR meeting and discussing this limited nursing concept. And so what we wanted to do is, there was a lot of concern over the language in the initial draft. And so what we did, and I believe it was en masse with all of the CALA members who showed up, and also the folks that showed up who may not be CALA members, but what we did in addressing the limited nursing draft, there were some very positive results. Some of the results in terms of the action items that the state has to implement are a little bit more ambiguous, and we kind of have to wait and see to the extent to which the state is going to follow the direction of our providers. So first of all, I think the most significant change that we influenced had to do with page 24 in the draft regulations, where it outlined pretty much the responsibilities of a personal care provider, but not only the responsibilities, but the limitations. And so one of the things that we were able to influence was that the language under each of those headings of what a personal care provider is able to do, all of the commentary, if you will, or the text, was removed from those headings. So it's very, very clear those tasks that a personal care provider is able to do, in addition as they're defined by the activities of daily living. And Nicole, do you have any comment on that?
Comments? Well, I mean, ultimately, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, I think, again, everyone participating in the call to action to be at the last meeting was very successfully received by the health department. Randy Kirkendall, the head of the health department, was also there and listened. I think that they were very, very open to our suggestions. And ultimately, I think that what we're going to see at the next meeting on the 20th and even the week after that is probably going to be some concrete black and white guidance on what a PCP can do in our environment and what CNAs can do in our environment. But other than that, I don't think we have anything any clearer than we did prior to the meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's excellent. So the flip side of that coin is the final disposition of the concept of limited nursing, and that is still going to be in effect because the Colorado Department of Health still has a consciousness toward implementing limited nursing. And so to that extent, there is still a little bit of ambiguity associated with whether or not CNAs are going to be required to do some of these activities. However, from a practical standpoint, it doesn't appear as though the limited nursing elements are able to be implemented by personal care providers and not CNAs. So that's something that's still a little bit up in the air. We didn't get into the concept of medication administration in terms of a CNA and their medication designation. There was, if I understand it correctly, and Nicole, you can comment on this, there was a pretty dramatic change in the level of work that is allowed by personal care providers. And so what we really pushed for, and the ALR committee pushed for, was for a very specific designation of duties and activities that are required under the limited nursing. Is that your understanding, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. And Nicole, can you give your perception of what they were talking about in terms of those more significant tasks that are going to have to be implemented by CNAs?
Well, I mean, I think we didn't talk about specifics. We didn't really break down every ADL. They did speak, of course, about foot to lift, people that need full assist for bathing, full assist for, transfers, full assist for being moved around in bed, those types of things that are clear CNA level of care are things that I don't think we're going to be able to get away with unless we have limited nursing licensure. But really, they have kind of backed off on some of those tasks that we know PCPs can be successfully educated to do. Some of the things that were brought up is like putting TED hose on and off, standby assist, or even some hands-on assist while someone's ambulating with a walker. Those types of things they're looking into because I think that as gray as they want this area to be so that we can all function as business owners, in this case, the health department really does need to clearly dictate this is what a PCP can do, this is what a CNA can do, or on the flip side, I guess, what you'll require limited nursing to do. They also did listen to financial concerns from the Medicaid community. Medicaid did have 2 representatives also there listening, and they share concerns on costs and the complication that this could cause individuals who are Medicaid providers. So I thought that was good. So hopefully the constraints about funds will also be heard.
Okay. Yeah, that's excellent points, Nicole. So in that regard, I do want to let everybody know that we also discussed a schedule from a standpoint of when these kind of the early life cycle of these draft regulations. The health department is going to essentially release a final draft. We have 2 more ALR meetings in October. One is next week, and then one is the second week after that. And we're going to be discussing fees. And so after these 2 meetings, the draft regulations are going to be released. And what the health department is going to do from the month of November all the way through February of next year, they're going to essentially take the draft regulations on the road and have a series of town hall meetings. And right now the schedule is a little bit ambiguous. It's not set in stone in terms of the locations. We'll be publishing that as soon as we get a handle on, or we get some specificity on those locations. I am going to absolutely do my best to try and attend all of those meetings. And what that format is going to be is they're going to be presenting these draft regulations to providers around the state of Colorado. There's going to be these town hall meetings in the Denver metro area, north-south, in Grand Junction, and I believe there's one going to be set in Pueblo. But we'll know that schedule when it's released in finality from the state. I would like to encourage everybody to attend those meetings if you can, because they are going to take commentary from providers that haven't been involved in the initial development of this draft. In February, they're going to make an appointment essentially with the Colorado Board of Health to have these regulations reviewed. That appointment is going to be for the month of April. So they're going to schedule in February. The actual review by the Colorado Medical Board is going to be in April. Once the medical board reviews it, that is when the regulation is going to be promulgated or put into effect. And we haven't heard the lead time that the state is going to allow communities to be able to ramp up and to understand the regulations. They did say that they were going to be providing some training sessions on the new regs. But what I would like to also encourage everybody on the line is to attend this year's CALA conference. The entire conference is essentially going to be focused on the new regulations. The first day we're going to be having sessions on the new QMAP rules, medical waste disposal. That's a big change in the regs. And what's the third one, Nicole? Do you recall? It's medical waste, QMAP. Oh, food service.
And limited nursing.
I apologize. Yeah, food service. The second day, we'll have sessions on various topics, but in the afternoon, by the time that our conference is set forth, we're going to have the final draft. And so the health department is going to be talking about limited nursing and the role of the administrator. Those are two major changes as well in the new regulations. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for questions. So Peter, if anybody has any questions written in, you can fold those out for us.
Yeah, if there's any specific questions, please submit those. The one question that came in a little bit earlier, you were talking about which page that there were major changes on.
That would be page 24 of the draft regulations in the most recent version.
24 of the most recent. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Questions? Ask away. Eileen had her hand raised. Did you have a specific question, Eileen, that you could post? Let's see. I'm just going to see if Eileen's microphone's working. We'll just bring her on and let her ask. Let's see if I can. Eileen, are you there? Sometimes the microphone works and sometimes it doesn't. Hello, Eileen. Say something. Okay. Nope.
Well,
okay.
Well, Eileen, let me give you my email address, and you can email me your question, and I can email you back directly. It's wjbolesjr@hotmail.com. wjbolesjr@hotmail.com. W.J. Bowles Jr.
I'll put that in the chat as well so people can see that and get that.
Okay, that sounds good. And overall, I think it's a very positive move, and I do believe that this last ALR meeting was a demonstration of how that the assisted living community, especially those folks who are considered small home providers, were able to rally around one another and really have a chance to influence some of the decisions that the state was making. There were some very very strong proposals that we were able to really have a voice and express how that they would impact our business model and our financial model. So I just can't express how impressive that demonstration was at the last ALR meeting. So, Nicole, do you have any final comments?
I do not.
Did have a couple questions. So,
okay.
One question is, will CALA participate in identifying what procedures fall under limited nursing designation?
Well, Nicole, do you want to take a stab at that one? Peter, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, will CALA participate in identifying what procedures fall under the limited nursing designation?
Will we
What's our participation in that?
So once the health department gives us guidance on what they're really looking for as far as what PCP role and what limited nursing roles are going to look like, then we'll bring that to the membership and then advocate however we need to. Clearly, one of the things that we do feel passionately about is that, the education of our PCPs and their ability to do their jobs on a daily basis might allow some of those skills originally that they were looking at being under limited nursing to no longer be listed there. But truly, till we get some guidance from the health department, it's kind of difficult for us to determine which way to go. But we will definitely bring that to the membership, and we'll want all of your input, and then we'll want all of you to be active in the meetings, in the town halls, to express your concerns regarding what they may come up with.
And that's a great point. Thank you, Nicole. One of the things that Randy Kirkendall presented in the meeting, and he did it twice, at the beginning and at the end, that he wanted to express that the rules in the format in which the rules are in now is draft format. So right now is the time to comment. Right now is the time to get involved because they are draft. And I think that every opportunity that we have to communicate to the health department, including the CALA conference, because they are in draft, we have the ability to make a difference. Again, we have no idea we kind of have some idea what's going to be included in limited nursing, but it's by no means any kind of an exhaustive list. So I hope that answered your question. Peter, do you have another one?
Yeah, a couple more here. Do you feel the committee is seriously considering the issue of having a medical director oversight for assisted living?
Well, that was the notion that when that was presented at the ALR meeting, that the entire group stood up and advocated against that. I personally am against it, and I believe that CALA as an association would be opposed to that notion. It just creates too many conflicts of interest, and so we won't know to the extent that the medical director has a presence in limited nursing until that we actually see the draft. And if that medical director concept is being proposed the way that it was proposed untouched at the ALR meeting, that is something that we are going to have to rally and get as much commentary and financial impact as we can in order to be able to change it. Nicole, do you have any comments on that?
Not necessarily well, I guess I do have a comment. I do think that I would be surprised if we saw the medical director included in the draft. So it was an interesting concept. It's really not appropriate for assisted living, and I didn't really see anybody grab on to the idea. Even the group that Bill's involved in, I didn't really see anyone get excited about that idea. I'd be surprised to see it in the draft, but if we do, I do think it's something that is not going to be suitable for assisted living, and we will, again, need to rally very passionately to try and make sure that that doesn't become part of our regulations.
Thanks, Nicole. Peter, any other questions?
Yeah, so questions related to so I guess clarification on this. So from Eileen Doherty, is anyone going to talk about the fact that primarily nurses will be the only ones who can run ALRs. So if you have any other kind of degree, you're not going to be able to run an ALR. I don't know if that's the case
Yeah,
or not. Is that the case?
I think I can understand the spirit of the question. And if not, Eileen, please email me. But the good news that came out of the last ALR meeting is that they created greater separation between and definition initially between the communities that are going to be designated as limited nursing and those that are not. And so those that will take on that designation of limited nursing will have to either hire or contract with a registered nurse. And we don't know to what extent that interaction with a physician group, again, we're waiting for the draft. However, because there was greater definition and separation between a limited nursing community and a non-limited nursing community, I do believe that there is going to be satisfaction for those providers that decide not to do limited nursing. Do you agree with that, Nicole, or do you have any additional comments?
Well, I guess my question is Eileen speaking about the limited nursing licensure or the brand new regulations regarding administrators? Because they are different. So I guess if it is regarding administrator and the new regulation regarding that, if Eileen would let us know.
Okay.
Let's see. Someone's asked about a list of the town hall meetings, so we'll get that, so we can get that out to everybody. Question about contacting your state legislators. It's not going to be a House or Senate bill. This is entirely regulatory, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right. They are correct. They are using the enabling legislation and the standard to develop these regulations.
Yep.
And there is a designation in the enabling legislation that calls for limited nursing. They just expanded on it.
Gotcha. Let's see what else kind of applies here. Yeah, so Eileen was giving clarification. The brand new license regulations for the administrators in terms of nursing. So the brand new regulations or the brand new license for administrators, is that going to require people be nurses, or no? Is it going to be the same as it has been?
No, it's essentially going to be the same with some modifications. There is no licensure for administrators, but what they have done is they've expanded the role of the administrator in the new regs, and they've also included that there has to be a test or a demonstrated competency of the administrator, because what they've done is they've privatized the administrator's course, and they've put some requirements in there for providers of the administrator course. A percentage of the course has to focus on the regulations, and I don't recall what percentage that was. I believe it may be a 60-40 split, but I don't recall in terms of a focus on the regulations. But they are requiring some type of qualification or test or demonstrated competency from the administrator course. So we're still not requiring that administrators be licensed.
That is true, but I believe that maybe what Eileen is speaking of is on page 15 of 71 from the assisted living meeting on September 28th. It does talk about qualifications that you must have in order to be an administrator, as well as the training. And so line 6 through 20 does give you the specifics regarding what you will need to have to be an administrator. You don't have to be a nurse, but it does seem that they are wanting education or years of experience in order to be an administrator of an assisted living. And then below that area, it is talking about the training that they are looking at making part of the new administrator's course in order to be able to be certified. Well, not even certified, but in order to be an administrator.
Yeah,
so all of that will be on page 15.
Okay.
Okay, very good, very good. Any other questions, Peter?
Let's see here. So I think you kind of mentioned this, but can you mention again the proposed dates on when they want to try to finalize these? So you gave a couple dates of when it's supposed to go before the broader board and for approval and all
Yes.
that.
It's supposed to go in front of the Colorado Medical Board in April of next year.
So it's going to go before for approval in April?
Yes.
And then
yes,
is there a time frame of when they say at that point these are approved and they become effective? Do we have a estimation of that?
No, I can't imagine. There's so much change that's going on with these regulations, and they can't really do any training on drafts, and those drafts are going to be finalized in April. So I would imagine that they would, and this is just a guess, that they would that they could give the remainder of 2018 to conduct training and implementation and education on these new regs, and that's just speculation on my part.
Yeah, but we'll know for sure.
We'll know for sure in April.
So what we have now, we need to get done and taken care of by April.
Well, actually, by February.
Oh, okay. So everything, all our comments, all our suggestions, everything we want them to do needs to be done by February because they're going to lock it up and then they're going to present it for approval in April.
That's correct. Once that they make the appointment with the Board of Health in February, at that point in time, and I'm not sure of the rules, but I would anticipate that all commentary would be closed in February.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so, and other questions that come up from that, who's grandfathered in and not grandfathered in, does it apply to new, all that kind of stuff. So I think those are questions we should probably be asking as we get closer to the end here.
Yeah, that's correct. I would anticipate, and I think that there was some commentary from the state that all existing administrators would be grandfathered in, but that once the new regs hit, any new administrator would fall under auspice of the new reg.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. I think we at least talked about most of these. So there's still definitely some concerns with, who's qualifying. Obviously, the list of limited nursing category as well. So there's still plenty of opportunity to give input to try to influence these, which is what we're trying to do. And obviously, the CALA conference is going to be a big part of that. Anything else, Bill, that you want to wrap up with?
No, I would just like to encourage everybody to continue to be involved. It's just very comforting and it's very satisfying to the association when people have read the regulations, the draft regs, when they participate in the ALR meetings, and when they make the decision to participate. And we are all doing our best as a board to represent CALA's interest. I'm not there by myself representing CALA just based on my perspective and my opinions. This last ALR meeting, we had 4 CALA board members there in the audience, including me as part of the committee, and we also had folks on the board that were on the telephone. So the CALA board is definitely involved in this, and I believe that we are united in endorsing and even countering some of the things that would impact our individual business models. So, Nicole, do you have anything?
No, I think that covers it. And again, thank you everybody for being so involved.
Okay. So with that, we'll I guess we'll close the webinar. And again, my email is wjbolesjr@hotmail.com if you have any questions. And thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
A couple of final announcements, guys. We're looking for nominations for our CALA awards. So we give awards in several categories. If you go to the website and look at the awards that are available, or you've seen our emails, we're looking for, who can be our best caregiver, best administrator, best executive directors. So we want to definitely give recognition to you and your staffs on the hard work that you guys do every day. So please do those nominations. It also mentioned the early bird rate for the conference ends on October 10th, so just a few days left to get the early bird rate. So if you haven't registered yet, you'll want to jump in and do that right away. That should do it for us here. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you again soon. Thanks.